Status. My name is Uche. I'm originally from, of course, what used to be called Nigeria Biafra now, and from Ibuzo, and that's in Delta State. To be precise, I'm from Oshimili South of Delta State. And I am an Igbo person. I'm also a Biafran. I speak as much Igbo as anyone else that calls them himself or herself an Igbo person. I am very concerned with the Igbo culture and the Omenani. You know, if any in the money me, Omenani anyị, I'm a wancha. So this is my dialect that I'm speaking to you now. So it's no different from, somebody that is from Onitsha or Busi or whatever. It's just about the same thing. So I have as much stake in the Biafran project, just like anyone else. And I pay my taxes, liberation tax, and all that. I think I should have a voice also too. And also, we should have a role to play when something is going on and something is going wrong. We have to speak out to make sure that those people that have considered themselves as leaders, so to speak, because nobody voted for you, but being that we are in a state of war and a state of liberation, what we have done is to see to you our rights for you to represent us. And you, as a leader, have to represent us, not yourselves. But what I've seen so far, unlike Simon and unlike Mazen Namdekano, everyone else there, it's for themselves. You all are grandstanding, and I'm not sure if you guys understand what liberation is all about. In the war of liberation, you do not change government. You work with what you have. Because first off, when you all were under Simon Ed, you all pretended to be working together. You all pretended to be one. But in reality, you guys have formed your, groups there, different groups. And the moment the PM was out of the picture, imagine what happened. Quarreling everywhere, sniping everywhere, backbiting everywhere, gossiping everywhere, people talking bad about one another. And that is very reminiscent of what happened with Nnamdi Kano's IPOB. And majority of you guys here now in the government in exile are from IPOB. I have always said Nnamdi Kanu was unfortunate. He formed an organization hoping that he could use that organization and with the support of the organization to move forward the liberation of Biafra. But unfortunately, all he attracted unsavory characters, criminals. And this is what is comprised of IPOB. And the behavior of you guys, both men and women, in this government that you have now in exile, it's the same as the IPOB. There's no difference. No difference at all. You guys have no, I mean, you don't even respect the rule of law. You have guidelines, you have charter that anything that you want to do, that charter, Biafran charter, that was adopted in 2023 should be the guideline for it. It is like its constitution for Biafra, that everything you do must conform with that charter. The charter is no different from the US Constitution. That's what it means. The US Constitution is the US Charter. And from there, that is where power is derived. And that is where representation is derived. And that is where the rights of the citizen is derived. And you cannot take the right of the citizens. Let's look at the amendments. The U.S., the First Amendment in the U.S., as an example, and the Second Amendment. In this country, people talk about, they have the right to bear arms. It is from the Second Amendment. It is in the Constitution because the Constitution is the guiding principle that nation function. Without a constitution, what happens? You have lawless nation, and that is what Nigeria is. And that is what you guys are turning the Biafra government in exile into a lawless government, a lawless representation. You abdicate power unto yourself. You appoint yourself as ministers. Nobody voted for you. Nobody. And besides, if you're going to dissolve an existing government, there are rules. There are ways to do it. But the problem is this I have with you guys is this. You are not a constituted government. You are not a government operating within a land territory, within a territory defined as a country, that you can dissolve the government and form a new government. You are running what is called a liberation movement, just like any other liberation movement in the world. A liberation movement, everybody in that movement must subscribe to the same ideology and have common goals. But what I have seen so far within the last month, even within Nnamdi Kanu, is that you guys don't have a common ideology. You guys don't have a common goal. Everybody coming into this movement have their own agenda. And that is what is playing out today. Exactly what is playing out today. Power, position, money. When I mean, when all this crisis started, it was about money, 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 power, power, power. That's all I hear. One thing I want to remind people is Mr. Simon Ekpa selected December 2nd, 2024. December 2nd, he said that that day is sacrosanct, that it cannot change, that is the day that the restoration of Biafra, the declaration will happen on the 2nd of December. You guys don't understand. Simon Ekpa is a spiritual person. Selection of that date was not just, a mere selection of date, that picking a day out of the calendar. No, it is spiritual. But you guys, look at what you guys have done. Look at what you guys have done. Do you know the damages that you guys have caused within this last 4 months that he's been out? You guys don't understand. I mean, you go out there thinking that everything is, you talk and talk and talk and it's going to be resolved. No. Nigeria, Africa, when you are fighting for freedom, it is not by, simply through political process. Nobody's going to give you freedom through political process in Africa. You have to fight for it. South Sudan and Sudan fought for 30 years before they gained independence, before South Sudan was granted independence. And the independence of South Sudan, when you look at it during the time of George Bush, the Christian community in the US played a great role in bringing that to fruition. And this is what you guys ought to be doing, aligning yourselves with the Christian community, particularly in the US, because the Christian community in the US, pretty much they are Republicans, conservative Republicans, and at least they are the ones talking about Christians in Africa. I mean, the Vatican doesn't talk about Christians in Africa. The Vatican doesn't talk about the sufferings of Christians in Africa. Europeans don't talk about the sufferings of Christians in Africa, even though they themselves are supposed to be Christians. So you guys have messed up everything. Everything that Mazen Simon Ekpa meticulously built, carefully put together, sweated, suffered after Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. He was the one with a few people. I watched him. I saw him. A good example is what's his name? This guy that runs Biafra Unite, as an example. Even Sonia Akbarawa, as an example. When everybody ran away, Sonia Akbarawa, Biafra Unite stood with him. They stood with him. And over time, Akbarawa and Madam Arawa, those two people became the link between the hinterland of Biafra and the coastal region. And look at what you guys are doing, messing things up. You are messing things up. Some of you will talk about, Biafra. I only know about Igbo. I don't know any other person. But you are fighting for Biafra. Biafra is not Igbo alone. Just because you have access to social media and you can make some noise, you speak your language, your people converge to your channel and they talk to you. You talk about all you know is Igbo, all you know is Igbo, all you know is Igbo. And the Igbo that you are talking about that you know are the Eastern Igbos. I am an Igbo person. I'm one Igbo. I'm not so Igbo. I'm one Igbo. Igbo si isu wee bịa, isu na nri. I know my history. I can tell you my history. But ọ bụ na njụ na nke bụ nọ na Igbo ofesi, nke bụbụ onye Nnewi, nke bụbụ onye Enugu, njụ ike ebe onye the founder of Enugu ka ebe o si bịa, ịma nwoke ịgwa m But why ebe onye found onye chọpụta igbuzo, onye bido igbuzo ebe o si bịa, why? Instead of you to build bridges, that we all are the same, regardless, people are tearing, that fabric apart. I am disappointed in every one of you. I'm not a young person. I was, pretty much 7 years old when the Civil War started. I know what we went through. I lost my uncle in Benin. He was killed. A lot of people were killed in Benin right there. And some of them were killed in the north. We suffered the same, And after the war, we suffered the same. Originally, we were not part of Biafra. We were Western region. But then what happened during the war? The Biafran troops crossed over because they had to go to Lagos when they, did the offensive to capture Lagos. They had to cross over, pass through the Niger Bridge. And what happened? The rest of, Western region accused us, the Igbos, of, kind of sabotaging the the Midwestern region. That we aligned with the Biafrans, to take over the Midwestern region. I mean, that was how we got conscripted into the Biafran project, and we suffered for it. The Asaba massacre is an example. We suffered. Nobody defended us. But what I'm trying to say is this: what you guys are doing is terrible. Shame on you people. What are you fighting over? You're not fighting over the liberation of Biafra. You're not fighting over ideology. You're not fighting over goals. All you're fighting over is position. Why was the government dissolved? Was the government inept? Does it mean that Simon Ekpa, as an example, was so inept that he could not recognize that the government that he was prime minister of was not functioning? Does it mean that all the components of the government, when Simon Ekpa was there as the prime minister, was not functioning? Does it mean that everybody in the government were inept? That Simon was so, he himself was so inept he could not recognize that people were not doing their job? Or was he so weak that he was afraid to fire people? Look, to be a leader is not easy. My great 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 grandfather was a great chief. My hometown originally, we didn't have kings. But because, other communities were having kings, around the 18th century, they said, okay, they want a king to be like other communities. I know up to today, I can tell you the history. To be a king, you have to have patience. To be a ruler, you have to have patience because one, you're going to rule your subjects. Some of them are going to be crazy. Some of them are going to be idiots. Some of them are going to be brigands. Some of them are going to be criminals. Some of them are going to think that everybody else, they are smarter than everybody else. Some of them are going, do all sorts of things. If you do not have the patience, what do? You will kill a lot of people. You will send people to jail because you couldn't tolerate their behavior. But as a leader, as a king, or whatever you are, you have to have patience in order to be able to govern. You can't be temperamental. You can't say, oh, because this person didn't attend my meeting, I dissolve it. No, you give them time and chance. If they are angry, give them time. Continue with what you're doing. Dissolving the government, as an example, has it made it easier for you to govern? No. What you have done is to create enmity, is to create division, is to create confusion. And that is what the enemies want. And that brings to the question, why did you have to dissolve a government that is a liberation movement and not a truly constituted government? You are in exile. You don't have a territory that you govern. You are a government in paper. That's what you are. And now you are dissolving that government, forming a new government. What kind of nonsense is that? And you have a charter, just like the US Constitution, that should govern, whatever you do. Look at that charter. See if you cannot interpret the charter, you have lawyers. You call lawyers, say, okay, what do we do? If we need to change the government, as an example, they would like to know, why do you want to change the government? Is it because, oh, because Simon said, after the declaration, the government should be changed? That's not true. If you look at the charter, even though some part of the charter were 2007, as an example, it talks about the government in exile and also the what they call now the government in the homeland, as an example, but it worded differently. It says when Biafra is liberated, both government will now merge to form a transitional government that will govern the Biafra for not exceeding 4 years. And after that 4 years, that government will cease to exist. And the constitution, will be written and there will be elective offices. That is what it says. That the two governments shall merge once Biafra is liberated. So it didn't talk about dissolving government, whatever. What it said is when Biafra is free, restored, of course, the BRGIE as an example, and that in the homeland is going to merge. What will happen is dissolve and then you merge the two governments together to now form a transitional government that will now shepherd the country for about 4 years. And then election will be held. You see, you guys think you are smart, you are educated. I'm not in favor of anybody. I'm in favor of my people, Biafran people, Ndi Igbo, and anybody that desire freedom. And that is why when I look at, I go on social media and people are talking bad about, let's say, for instance, Biafra Unite. This man fought for Biafra. This man with Simon Ekpa, when you all are in diapers, he was out there fighting. And somebody is going to be calling him Biafra. And you, because you have a social media, I'm talking about Adadio Rama, you have a social media, they use your platform to castigate this man. And you said nothing. Why? I mean, you all are crazy. I am going to stop paying my tax. You can run your government, do whatever you want with it. It is your, I mean, you can, or you do whatever you want with it already. Go ahead and do it. And my prayer is that Simon will come out soon so that he will see, salvage what you guys have now destroyed. Because what you've done is the structure that he built, you're remaking it, just exactly what they did to Mother Namde Kanu by the idiotic IPOBs and those thieves. That's what you guys are doing. The same thing. You know, all of you are grandstanding. Even the so-called finance minister, even before, Simon himself got problems. All of you, what do you call it, the chief of staff, the finance minister, both of you were grandstanding. You think we're not watching? I watched, I saw it. Both of you were playing to the gallery. Who will outdo the other? I saw that. So you cannot do anything to convince me that you guys are, true patriots. You are not. If you are a patriot, both of you or both camps, if you are patriots, this issue should not have come out to the public. It should have been resolved quietly in house. If you two could just sit down and talk, seek the advice of elders. That is what elders are there for. But you guys have no respect for anybody. So you don't want to seek advice because you have no respect for anybody. And here we are. Problems. What you guys have done now is to open the door for the enemies to come in and destroy. That is what you've done. That is exactly what you guys have done. And you know what? Watch out.